Yeah.
What a beautiful forehead you've got this evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's what I love about doing things online. You get lots of different angles of people. Whereas obviously when you're in person, you actually see the whole person. It's wonderful. So, has anybody heard from Morag? I wonder.
No.
Long to wait. Well, let's do a little warm up to begin with. Have you guys got a pen and a bit of paper?
Yeah.
Well, what I would like you to do is, let me get, oh, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, what colour will I go for? Let's go for orange. I would like you to draw 4 scribbles. So a scribble, just anything that you fancy. Just, can you see that? Will I make that? I'll bring that in. I'll bring that in. So just a bit of a wiggle. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just 4. It can be. You got that? Super. Now, I would like you to turn each of these into a little bird. So a little bird. So let's use a triangle. So you're using a triangle for the beak and just 2 little lines for the legs. And it's up to you. You can use another triangle if you want to add a little tail on there. And add a little dot for an eye. So a triangle for a beak, a dot for an eye, and a little, just little lines for the legs. You turn your squiggle into any kind of birdie you want to, in any position. So let me know when you've got your 4 little birdies ready. Yeah?
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Muriel, what about you?
I was on the 4th one now. I only did 3. I'm okay. The weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Now, can I invite you guys to show off your little birdies?
Okay. No,
show
not
your
on
picture.
But the meeting is working. The meeting's working. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Wonderful.
Who's here?
Yay! Love them. Love them. Love them. Love them. That's great. Thank you for sharing. So the reason I do that is, well, A, it's a bit of fun, a little bit of a scribble, but it's wonderful what our brains can come up with. That's just from a little squiggle. Because our minds are pattern recognizing things, machines inside of us. So often when we are feeling overwhelmed, the link to the session, and we're feeling a little bit stuck and frustrated, we're not able to identify what we need to do next. But the rest of this session is really just an exploration in the importance and value of just coming back into being, because you've already got everything that you need. That was just a tiny little prompt that invited you to make a squiggle, and then you created something from that squiggle. That actually, every single one of you, it looks like a bird, but it's just a squiggle. So when we're feeling overwhelmed and stuck, all we need to do is something, because there's so much out there. We just need to take one step. And whether that's getting pen to paper and starting to write something, type something, to have that conversation, we just need to do something, and then our creative genius is going to take over the rest and fill in the gaps and start to recognise the patterns to fill things in. Because that's what we do. That's what brains are here for. It's wonderful. So thank you for joining in with that. That makes sense. The whole pattern recognition. So life might not be easy, but it certainly is simple. And that's why I'm a big believer in teamwork and having open and honest conversations, because when my light is dimmed, then I need somebody else to remind me, to say, look, doll, it's actually a lot easier than you think. It's a lot simpler. Just look around you. The inspiration is there. You just need to do something. And then when your light is dimmed, there's other people around to also say, come on, life is a lot simpler. Because when our light is dimmed and we're feeling overwhelmed, we forget that life is simple. And we go into that overcomplicating, that we need all of these different resources to help us make things happen, when actually we don't. So that's the importance of teamwork, is so we can all work together when each of our lights dim, because at some point, all of us are going to have a light dimmed. We're all going to get stuck. We're all going to feel frustrated because we're human. There's no Zen place. There's no place that being fed up and frustrated isn't in it. We're human. So today's session is all about getting out of overwhelm so we can get on with making good things happen. And that's basically creating a life that we love. So who here has ever felt overwhelmed? Me.
I thought that. All fell over.
It's universal, isn't it? And the really funny thing is, we're often not open and honest about it. So when we're feeling overwhelmed, we think we're the only person that's feeling that way. But actually, everybody is like that. So how do you know when you are getting to that stage where you feel overwhelmed? How do you recognize that state? What were you saying, Muriel? Did you say something there? Sorry, Muriel.
I think last year I just collapsed in a heap. I'd taken on too much. And I didn't realise I actually was overwhelmed. I just assumed what I was doing was the right thing to have done. But yet I obviously, only on looking back, did I realise that I had obviously been doing far too much that I didn't need to do. And I was ill, but I didn't think it was a problem at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with the knowledge that you've got now about that,
Yes.
what were the signals?
What's
So there's, before we get into that burnout, that kind of heat,
yeah.
There's a good number of steps in the run up to that where we just feel, you know, there's just a little bit of overwhelm. We're kind of feeling a little bit stressed. We're feeling, you know, oh, it's a little bit more, and then the crash comes. So we're not going to identify into the crash if anybody's experienced that crash, because that's really horrible. So we're not going to go there. What I'm curious about is our ability to recognise just us getting out of alignment and that feeling of, oh, I'm feeling a bit stressed here. How do you know that? What happens to your thinking? How do you feel it in your body? So it might be that your heart's racing faster. It might be that you have a cold sweat, a hot sweat. It might be that your thinking speeds up. It might be the quality of your thinking changes. It might be that the way you speak changes. There's lots. Everybody does it slightly different. So what I'm curious about is, are you aware right now of your own recipe so you can identify it when you get out of line?
I think it's not knowing what to do. You don't know which direction to go, or even that small thing. You don't know what to do.
Yeah. So that's what I'm hearing there is I don't know. So it's a kind of thinking process. So you're kind of hearing yourself going, I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that's in that? So is there anything in your body, for example, that kind of gives a little bit of an indicator?
Quite clenched up, quite tense. Can't relax. It's like you can't do anything, but you're not relaxed about it. You're tense about it.
Yeah. So it's not a deliberate. Sometimes we don't take action and it's a deliberate not taking action, and we're okay with that.
Yeah.
But you're getting into that fight or freeze with overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Lockie? What's your experience?
Experience of being overwhelmed.
Yeah. How do you identify it? How do you know?
Like when I feel like really stressed out, angry inside.
And when you feel stressed out and angry inside, how do you recognise that? So what happens to your thinking and what happens internally inside your body? So you recognise.
I feel like kind of like you kind of heat up a bit in your body. It just feels really stressful, under pressure a lot.
Yeah. So for you, there's a temperature thing. Everything.
Yeah.
Just a little bit water.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I'm asking that is often we don't know what our kind of our symptoms are, which is why so many of us get into that crash, because we ignore it. Very like what you're saying, Muriel. You thought it was okay, it was piling up, but you weren't at any point slowing down and recognising the kind of tell signs until it was just, whoa.
The rug was taken from under me.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise what I thought. I mean, if it was now, I think it would be the coronavirus. And that's what I was last year at this time. Well, later on. I just was doing, I didn't think so, because that's who I am. I was actually doing far too much and putting pressure on myself.
Yeah. And now, how confident do you feel of your ability to recognise when enough is enough?
I've now recognised that, and that's one of the things I'm having to deal with. Enough is enough, but what is enough? What can I just withdraw from everything? Or where am I going? I think that's where I am. I can't go down the road I was on. I've got to do letting go.
Yeah.
And things again are coming, as I said, to me. And I just feel I want to have fun. I don't want to feel that I'm having to work all the time to make things happen. And that's what I was doing. Now my son's come through now tonight he's got a blog now going for me. I can do that. I can sit and do that peacefully. I work with the blog.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing there is, again, a very common thing, if I'm right, in that you've had that experience and now there's a little bit of fear around you know, I'm interested in all of these things. However, I'm not sure exactly what's the tipping point.
That's right.
So I'm a bit reluctant to say yes to things just in case
Yes.
that's the tipping point.
Yes, and that's where I am at the moment. I don't want to just drop off the planet and say that that's it. I don't want to do anything. I've still got a brain. I've still got the energy, and I need to know what I'm doing is adding value to my own life and give to other people if need be.
Yeah. So what we're going to do in this session and later on, we're going to do a bit of an exercise so you can begin to slow down and just listen to what your body's telling us, because often we get caught in our thinking and we need to know. But our mind and body are connected. We're one massive big organ, and there's so much wisdom in the rest of our body, but we are taught to value this stuff. We're taught to value the thinking, and we're taught to ignore the rest of it. So when it comes to trusting ourselves, and that trust is just knowing what's right for us and checking in, is it right, is it okay, and really being brave to act on that trust. If we've got that, then that helps us avoid that overwhelm. Or even when we get to that overwhelm, because we're human, we're never going to get it right all the time. Things are going to happen and life will get busy and we'll forget to check in on ourselves. But the more self-aware we are, and the more self-aware includes our body and how we can read and trust ourselves, the quicker it will be for us to get out of overwhelm. So if you imagine, you know, we're walking along and there's a big hole and we fall down the hole. Right now, it can feel it's really tough to get out of that hole. But the more self-awareness that we've got, we'll still fall down the hole, but we know where the light switch is and we know where the ladder is, so we can climb out of it.
Or you walk down another road.
Exactly. But it might be that there's gold at the bottom of that hole. So, you know, I'm a big believer in there's no right or wrong way. And we can anticipate things and avoid them. And we can anticipate things and we can embrace them. And both of them, because down that new road that you've avoided, the road that you knew there was a hole in, might be an even bigger hole.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And the wonderful thing is, it doesn't matter if there is a hole, if you know how to get out of the hole.
Yeah.
Light switch, ladder, boom. All right, okay, I'm going to find some wonderful things down here. I've fallen down here for a reason. Might be that you meet somebody and you can help them out the hole. But that's the gift of self-awareness.
Okay.
That it puts you back in control, so you can say yes to the things that appeal to you without fear of any of that stuff, because you know that you've got everything you need, regardless of what comes up. And that's a deeper level of trust that comes when we start to slow down and really recognise internal signals. So it was great, Lockie, when you were describing that you kind of feel hotter. When that anger is kind of being created and brewing inside of you, that you can feel that heat. So that's a really great indicator. So when you begin to notice that your body's getting hotter, that's an invitation, that's a big tell sign for you to go, oh, I wonder what's happening here. I wonder if this is me creating some anger inside. What can I do about this? Is this anger appropriate? Is it going to serve me? Because not all anger is a bad thing. You know, it's fuel. It can be passion and help us stand up and do things. So that heat is an invitation for you to go, what do I want to do here? Do I want to continue taking this emotion? Or do I want to do something different and move away and create something new?
Yes.
And the more detailed we can get with our tell signs, then the easier it is to catch ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be that we have conversations with the people around us to ask them what they think our tell signs are. So, for example, one of my tell signs that I don't recognise is I just start to get grumpy.
Yeah.
And I'm more reactive.
Yeah, that's right. I agree with that.
So when that's one of your tell signs, it's really useful to have the people around you to shine a light back to that, to say, "Oh, is everything okay?" Because you were a bit short there, rather than anything escalating. So that can be enough to go, "Oh, right, okay. Time to press pause and what's going wrong? Where am I out of line?" Because there's something that's happened, because when you're totally aligned, that's when life is a lot easier. So what I would like to share with you, share screen, is this little one here.
Uh-huh.
Have you seen this before?
No.
This is a flow. There's a guy, I am not going to even try and pronounce his name. He's a Czechoslovakian guy, so it's a very long name. Mikhail something big long. Anyway, so he researches a thing called flow. And flow is when we are aligned and when things are going well. So we are challenged just enough that we feel good. So if you look at all of these different things around us, we've got the challenge level at this side. When we're not challenged enough, we feel bored, don't we? And life is a bit, and it's really hard to motivate ourselves because we've got nothing to cling on to. And the other side of that, so that's being underwhelmed. The other side of that is feeling overwhelmed. And that's when there's quite a high level of challenge. But not just the high level of challenge. There's a high level of challenge and we don't feel skilled enough to deal with it. So when life presents us with things that we need to manage and we feel able to deal with it, then we'll feel aroused, or we'll kind of, our emotions will be piqued, our interest will be piqued. When there's the perfect amount of challenge, that's when we're in flow. And that's when time will run away from us. So that's our optimal state. And then we've got control. And then we've got relaxation down the bottom. And relaxation is when there is no challenge. It's very, very low. But we're self-aware enough to recognise our tells such that we can genuinely relax. Like you were saying, Diane, that inaction isn't relaxing when you've got all of that going on. But when you've got the skill set of that self-awareness and that self-knowledge, then that inaction and that slowing down can actually be a really nice state to be in because it's a deliberate choice, if that makes sense. Have any of you got any questions around that?
No, it takes a little bit of thinking. I'd like to sort of go through it, slowly and just work with it. It's fascinating.
It really is. It really, really is.
Yeah.
So flow is what we're aiming for. And flow is when we use our strengths. And our strengths are things that we're able to do, we're naturally able to do.
Yeah.
And it comes easily to us. So, for example, think of something that you can do well. And think of how much energy that gives you, how much energy that creates when you do that thing. Sometimes the things that we're good at really drain us. I can do numbers, I can do spreadsheets, I can, whistle that kind of stuff up. Oh my word, I hate it. It really drains the bejesus out of me. Whereas creating something new, drawing pictures, writing something fresh, researching, joining dots, now that brings me alive. Whereas for other people, it's the polar opposite. So it's not the thing, it's how we relate to that thing. So with that in mind, can you identify something that you're good at that drains you and something you're good at that energizes you?
Sorry, I didn't hear the sec. There's something I'm good at that?
Something you're good at that drains you.
Yes.
And something you're good at that energizes you.
Right. Sorry. Okay.
Have you got that?
Yep.
Yeah. Diane, what about you?
Yeah, I've got it.
Lockie, what about you?
Uh-huh.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Would you like to share? No. That's okay if you don't want to. That's absolutely fine.
I'm trying to think. I mean, something that energized me ultimately drained me because it's like the writers group I started. I feel like it no benefit. I started it because I wanted to write, and I've done no writing. All I've done is made it work for other people, and it's been a pleasure to see that. But I've had no benefit whatsoever, and I just feel that has drained me.
Okay.
And I don't know how to stop because I felt it was something I had to do. But if I'm mentoring somebody or I'm with someone, like I've done over the last few days, going out with someone, having a conversation, listening to them, and just sitting with them and talking and trying to sort of be there, that energy, that's encouraging to me because I feel I'm not trying to achieve something or prove to myself anything, but I'm giving of myself, but I'm listening and not saying, do this, do that, do the other. And I've got no control over what I'm saying to them. I think that's what it is. I've always been very controlling, and I don't want that control anymore. I want to let go of the control. I've always wanted to make things happen, but now I'm tired of this draining. I think the controlling has been extremely draining.
So what, I'm just going to move away from this slide. So what I was hearing there was the writing energizes you. The writing and organising a group.
Yes.
The writing and supporting an individual energizes you.
Yes.
So what I was hearing there is the action of writing and creation, that's the energizer.
Yes.
And the context that you're thriving more in a one-to-one situation
Yes.
than in a group situation.
Yeah.
I'm also curious around that group situation because it could be that it's your organisational role within that group that's draining rather than the group itself that's draining.
Yes.
So what's your take? Is it the organisation or is it you're more energised one-to-one than you are in a group setting?
I think it was, I was having a new beginning and I started from scratch in a new environment. And for me, it was to get involved in community. And I've always been on my own and I've always done things. I've always got things done. Now I don't know whether I need to be making things happen. I'm just relaxing and enjoying the pleasure. I mean, my son's now got a blog going for me. I want to use that in my creativity. I want to, I'm sorry, I'm waffling on, but I'm struggling with where I am as to who I am.
So what the intention of my question there was around just enhancing your self-awareness so you can really tap in and tune in to the things, the activities that really give you energy. Because to create a life that we love, it's leaning in and doing more of the things that energize us and minimizing the things that drain us.
Okay. Well, that's what I think I'm busy working out. I'm starting to do it. I think this time of being locked down has actually helped me to prioritize. I realized I didn't need to be doing all these things. I'm suddenly, it's not to say it's not important, but it's not.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying just being and doing and just enjoying the day.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is perfect. That's what all of us want.
I know, but I'm not used to that. I'm always doing.
So what I'm hearing there is a little bit of a block in that giving and receiving. So
Yes.
It sounds like that you have done a whole lot of giving.
Yes.
And not a whole lot of receiving.
That's very true.
So receiving the simplicity of life is actually a little bit challenging because it's totally new.
That's right. That's very good. Yes. I don't know how to receive.
I think you do.
I receive pleasure when I see people happy doing what I sort of set out to do.
So here's a little pushback on that. So, and this is so common across the board. You get pleasure from other people's happiness, from seeing other people shine and other people smile and come into their best.
Yes.
So you're creating a block in their happiness. Because if you're not willing to receive, you're not letting them get the same gift as you're giving them.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. That makes a lot of sense. I've got to hand over to them.
So if I, for example, if I had a gift, if my gift was I wanted to spend time with you and that made me happy, just being with you and helping your life be simple, If you refuse to receive that, then that would prevent me feeling the feel-good feels that you currently have by helping all the people that you're helping.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
So now it's your responsibility.
Yes. To make myself happy. Oh, very good.
What comes up for you, Diane and Lockie?
The thing that I was good at that drained me was work.
But specifically what within work? Because work is massive, isn't it? So if you took out certain elements, then it might be that you were left with doing particular things that actually felt quite good doing it.
Yeah, that
It
was
lifted some things and put them in a different context.
Yeah. I was good at the paperwork, and I was good at putting things together. But I found the I don't know, so expectations, the timelines, the deadlines, things like that I found quite draining, you know, having to do everything up to a deadline.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was bits of it I really loved, really enjoyed, but it was the pressure, I suppose.
Yeah.
To get it all done in time that I found quite draining.
So that's something that you felt you did well, but because of the context, it kind of drained it.
Yes. Yeah.
What about the things that you did well that really energized you?
Well, it's a bit subjective because I think I'm a fantastic dancer. So I put dancing as the thing that energizes me because it really does. I love it. And I'm brilliant at it as well.
Exactly, it's all relative.
Yeah, so that was the thing that I love doing. That I've never been trained or anything like that, but give me a dance class or a disco or anything. I can tell I'm calling my own age out here now. A disco, anything like that. Oh, yeah, I'm up there. I love it, and that energizes me.
So, what is it about dancing that energizes you?
The freedom of it.
Uh-huh.
As I say, I'm not trained in any way, shape, or form. You know, you can learn a dance, but that's not the sort of thing that I do enjoy learning dances as well. But it's just going out there and just feeling the music and, you know, reacting to it. It's the freedom.
I want to invite Muriel and Lockie. Did either of you guys notice something about Diane there?
She lightened up. She smiled and got quite energized by what she was talking about.
Yeah.
I kept thinking in my head, music. Music obviously lightens up your spirit.
Your face literally lightened.
Lit up.
Eyes lit up.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just because you were talking about it.
That's right. You're smiling still.
Yeah, I am. It does. It's just something special. I don't know what it is about. Like I say, I've never been properly trained or anything, but it's just the freedom of it. I just love it. And music really affects I suppose it does to everybody, but I really can be affected by a piece of music as well. Yeah. It really does alter my mood, really, you know, sort of quite significantly. So maybe everybody's like that, I don't know.
Some people are more like that than others. And what you've got there is an absolute gift in your body.
Yes.
When you already recognise that feeling of freedom in your body right now. So you don't need to be dancing to have that feeling, because you just had that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the gift in that is when you're not feeling that. So just imagine that's your state of alignment, that feeling of freedom that you just had there. And anytime you're dancing, that's the feeling of you at your best in that state of flow. And then when you're not feeling that, my invitation is to start getting curious. So how do you recognize that? And then what do you want to do to bring yourself back into that? Is it a piece of music? Because if you're really anchored to music, what is the music that can help you get into that relaxed state, into that focused state, whatever state you're wanting to be in? What are the pieces of music that are going to help you get into that, to take you immediately out of overwhelm? And it doesn't necessarily, as you'll probably notice, it will be more powerful if you actually put the piece of music on, or if you go to a live concert or something like that. But even thinking about that piece of music and playing it in your mind will be enough to give you that bringing back to now, to bring you back to centre, to get you out of that overwhelm, to give you that moment to go, right, okay, what am I doing now?
Right.
Lockie, what about you? What came up for you?
You are. Well, the things that like make me feel energized, kind of like doing lots of cooking. I enjoy cooking. It helps get rid of stress.
Yeah. And thank you for bringing up that wonderful, wonderful word. What is stress? Because it's an overused term, isn't it? What is it?
Kind of like when you feel overwhelmed again.
Well, my invitation to you is to rethink that. So stress is simply tension. So we think of it from an engineering point of view. It's just tension placed on something. And tension can be a good thing. So imagine a tightrope. You need tension in that tightrope, don't you, for that tightrope to be viable to walk on. If you don't have the tension, then you can't walk a tightrope. It's just nigh on impossible. So not all stress is bad stress. So there's a thing called eustress, which is good stress. So that's appropriate stress, stress that helps us get things done. So that's the stress that we want. That's the flow state. So back to that diagram. Let me share that again. Here, eustress is arousal, flow, control, and relaxation. Because we've got enough of a challenge, it's actually a good thing. Whereas distress has been shortened and become the kind of common understanding of stress. So when we talk about stress and mental health and all of that, that's really distress we're talking about. And distress is when that challenge is taken too far and our competency, our skill set doesn't hold up to that, or indeed we don't have enough challenge. And then it's a floppy tightrope. So it's not kind of fit for purpose, because as humans, we're born to grow and we need a bit of challenge. We just need enough challenge. So when we're thinking about stress, it's really important to not label all stress as a bad thing. There's a wonderful woman, she's a psychologist called Kelly McGonigal, and I'll post this up in the group afterwards, but she's got a great book called The Upside of Stress. And she's got a great TED Talk, so I'll share the TED Talk in the group so you can watch it. And her whole career was spent educating people on the perils of stress. You've got to avoid stress, avoid stress, avoid stress. And then through her research, she actually found that the healthiest humans were living in that flow state that had that gorgeous, just enough challenge. So actually they had stress, and it was how they were perceiving it. So just because you're busy, just because you've got a lot to do, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be stressed, distressed by it. It could actually be that that's the perfect amount of stress for you to show up as your best self. And everybody is individual with that. So when we say that's a stressful situation, that's really not a helpful thing to say. Because then we're giving the event itself a label to say everybody will experience that situation as a stressful event. And it doesn't have to be. Does that make sense?
Mm.
So redundancy is a typical one, for example. So I went through a redundancy process, and there was a degree of distress with it, in that it was a voluntary redundancy, but it's the unknown that you're going into, and you're like, oh my goodness, have I made the right choice? All of that kind of thing. However, it was absolutely the right thing for me to do. Whereas for other people, they did find it a distress event because they had different life goals, different aspirations, different wants, needs, and they were at a different point. It wasn't the redundancy in and of itself that was stressful, it was our perception of it and how we related to that.
Yeah.
And coming back to the being the light for other people. So at the beginning, you know, my light will go out sometimes, and it's important for other people to be around me to shine that light. It's important when we're being that light that we're not reading things into those situations for people to say that must be really tough for you. Because it might not be tough for them. It might be that they're just out of line. And our job is just to bring them back in to say, how do you feel at your best? What do you love doing? What gives you energy? To bring them back into that gorgeous state of freedom.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than buying into that it must be terrible, it must be hard. And then they're like, oh, it must be hard, it must be terrible, which doesn't help them get out of that overwhelm. It just exacerbates it. Have you ever had that somebody's been really empathetic and they've just been with you, they've not helped lift you, and it's been nice that they've been with you, but it's not been particularly helpful to get you out of that situation?
Mm. Yeah. I just see things differently.
Yeah.
To say, well, as you said about getting made redundant, to me it was the beginning of a new life journey, a very exciting life journey, and other people, they just collapsed in a heap. But I went on to another life after that. When I got retrenched or early retired, it was a new beginning, and it was so positive. And I did things I didn't know I could do.
Yeah.
Was at the end.
And in that moment, when you're feeling really stressed, distressed, and overwhelmed, it's really tough to see that. Which is why it's really important that other people share their perspectives to say, actually, you know, this is a good news story. This is a good news story. There's other possibilities out there.
The laugh I found when I was told I was going to be retired or early retired, and somebody came into the office and suggested another position in the company, and I burst out crying because I said, I don't want that. I want to do, and what eventually did happen, I went back into the same company at half the hours and double the money. So in getting retrenched, I benefited, you know, but had I not you know, it was a weird feeling, but I wanted this. You
Yeah.
know, it worked for me, and I worked from home eventually.
It's amazing what the possibilities are that a lot of people can't see, and that's why it's really important that we trust ourselves.
Yeah.
So I want to share this one little slide with you. Share screen, and I shared it before, I'm sure. Where's your focus? So our experience of life is created from our focus, from our physiology, so how we're holding ourselves, and what's actually happening inside our body and our thought process. And it's that cycle of three things that helps create the experience that we then have. So anytime we're feeling overwhelmed, and equally anytime we're experiencing anything, we're only experiencing that one view. So where is our focus? Is our focus supporting us? Because if it's not supporting us, then we can see that there's a whole other circle there, there's a whole other ball, lots of different angles for us to explore. And that's the importance of having other people around us, because they can help bring us to say, have you seen this over here? Have you thought about this? So in the things that you guys have recently felt overwhelmed or distressed around, where has your focus been? What's been your thinking pattern? I can't do this. This isn't possible for me. I'm not good enough. Or potentially it might be, oh my word, this is really exciting. I can't wait for this. All of our thought processes will be different, but is it supporting us? And if it's not supporting us, there's two things that we can play with, and that's where we're looking at there and also our physiology. Because when we're not feeling great and our thought pattern isn't supporting us, it just tells us one thing and one thing only, and that's that we're not aligned, we've not got that freedom factor. So it's just a notice to tap back into our body and to get our body back in the way that it should be, which means going for a nap. It means having something healthy to eat. It means detoxing off of sugar. What you'll know, the more you tap into your body, the more you'll know what you need to do to help you come back into that state. Does that make sense? So what I would love you to do is, well, I would love us to do is a little bit of a breathing exercise.
Okay.
Breathing is the one.
Blackie's got out the window.
It's the simplest thing we can do to get us out of overwhelm. And the reason being is, are you familiar with our nervous system? We've got our parasympathetic system and we've got our sympathetic system. So our parasympathetic, it's paramedic. So the parasympathetic is our helpful kind of part of our nervous system that helps us calm down, and the sympathetic side of our nervous system helps, you know, keep us in that state of arousal. I can't say that properly. So breathing helps bring us back down and helps to. And the wonderful thing is, we've got our experiences created by neurochemicals. So we've got our cortisol and our dopamine and our adrenaline and all sorts of named neurochemicals, but they only ever last in our body for 5 minutes. We feel them, so we have a thought that releases, depend if that's a supportive thought, then it might release something wonderful like dopamine or oxytocin, the kind of the feel good, the kind of warm and fuzzy chemicals. If it's a thought that doesn't support us, like the, oh my goodness, I don't know how I'm going to manage that, or I've got no idea what I'm going to do, then that will release some chemicals that are the not so nice chemicals. But either way, whether it's a nice feeling concoction or a not so nice, it's only ever going to last in our body for no more than 5 minutes, unless we re-engage and we shoot more out. So we can have a thought and it will feel good, and that feel good feeling will pass. And then we have another thought that's not supportive, and then we have a rush of anxiety. And then a feel-good thought can come in and that anxiety goes away. And ditto, we can be in that anxious state, and if we don't re-engage with that thought, it'll pass within 5 minutes, which is wonderful, because every one of us has got a gift of changing our focus, just like that little if that thought isn't supporting us, so our physiology gets all that way that doesn't support us. The one thing we can do is breathe, change our physiology to help get our parasympathetic nervous system rocking and rolling, and change our focus. And then boom, we've got a whole different pattern. So what I would like you to do, like us to do together, is just play with a bit of a breathing exercise. So have you guys done some breathing exercises before? I'm presuming most people have, to be honest.
Yeah. Not really. And meditation, but
Wonderful. Meditation is so powerful because it's breathing in focus. That's what it's all about.
yeah.
All of this is to re-engage your parasympathetic nervous system. It's just holding a breath for 4 seconds. So it's a deep breath in for 4, holding it for 4, breathing it out for 4, resting for 4, breathing in for 4, and just 2 little cycles of that, and we've calmed down. My kind of, what's the word? Very similar to meditation, when we're doing a breathing exercise, some people do it and they're like, oh, that didn't work, I still felt quite stressed. If that's you, then notice your thinking pattern. Because if while we're breathing, we're thinking, oh, I've still got the dishes to do, or this will never work, then we're not fully engaged with our body, so it's not actually going to work, if that makes sense. Any thoughts, Lockie? Any questions?
No.
No. So let's just, as we wrap up, just have a little bit of breathing together, just to kind of help us come back to now. And what I would love you to do while we're doing this is begin to notice the difference in how you feel. Because what I really want you to get to know is the tells in your body. So just the simple things, like for example, one of mine is, my tongue coming off the top of my mouth, that I don't realise that it lives there while I'm stressed. And then when I'm relaxed, it's, so my jaw relaxes and I'm not aware of that. So just notice what you notice in your body. And that's the gifts that your body's giving you to tell you when you're in that state of stress, distress and overwhelm. So the more that you can notice that, the more that you can then bring yourself back to now and let go through a bit of breathing. Make sense? So on the count of 1, we're going to breathe in for 4. We're going to hold it for 4. We're going to breathe out. We're going to not hold it, but just relax for 4, and then do another round of it, okay? So breathing in on 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. And just relax. 2, 3, 4. And breathe in. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. And exhale. 2, 3, 4. And just rest. The power of breathing is that every single one of us have got to do it. And that's all we need to do to bring us out of overwhelm and into that beautiful state of flow, alignment, whatever the word is that you want to use to describe it. Moving on from this evening, my invitation to you is to do more breathing and just notice what you want as you come into that lovely centre place. And when you're in that centred place, ask what you want. So ask your question. What is the thing that I need to do now? And trust what comes up when you're in that centred place. Because when we ask a question, when we're in that place, that's when we're really tapping into our wisdom.
Yes.
And we're not getting into our overthinking because we've calmed our body down. So the more we ask and get curious in that state, then the better quality of answers are going to come up. And then the only thing we need to do is put our brave pants on and trust what comes up and do something with it. So thank you guys for joining us. As we wrap up, what's been your biggest takeaway from this evening? What are you going to take from our session tonight?
There's so much in my mind at the moment. Relaxation. I mean, I feel very relaxed. You know, I came in feeling very confused as to who am I, where am I going, and what am I doing? And it's just, there's good stress, learning good stress. But there is good stress.
Yeah.
And that good stress is how you manage it.
Yeah.
And I feel very relaxed.
More breathing. Diana, Lockie, have you got anything to share? And it's okay if you don't. And it's absolutely okay if you don't.
Nope, sorry.
I was just going to say that I was quite surprised that I had such a change in my the way I spoke, that, you know, when you pointed it out, that, you know, my face lit up. So maybe I'm missing a trick there. Maybe I ought to concentrate a bit more on doing that some more often, doing what I love some more often. And
That's good.
Isn't it?
Wonderful thing is about doing more of the things that energize us is it gets us into that zone And whatever comes of that, when we ask ourselves questions of what is the thing that I want to do, what do I need to do next, whatever the question is that's going to help us create a life that we love, when we ask those questions from a place of alignment. So because, I mean, it was so obvious that you were in a gorgeous place. So all you need to do is more of that.
Yeah.
Just do more of that, and then the doors will open. You'll ask the questions. The right questions will come to you when you're doing more of that. And the answers will come, and all you need to do is act on it.
Yeah.
Right.
And how amazing is that? There's no thinking involved. There's just a whole lot of dancing.
Brilliant.
You dance round the room now. Start dancing.
Thank you so much for coming along tonight.
Thank
Next
you.
week is our last session, and we have got the wonderful Eleanor Pratt coming, and she's going to be doing a body clock flow exercise, which I'm really looking forward to. I've never done it. It's going to be recorded, and we can practice it afterwards as well. But what I'm going to do again is post up in the group, because all we need is a hard-backed chair, and depending on how tall we are, if our feet touch the ground easily, if on the flat, on the chair, we don't need anything. And if we're short and we dangle, then we might need a couple of books so we can balance our feet. But that's all we need. And that's part of the last session where we're kind of tapping in again to our energy and beginning to trust our bodies, because that's where the gold is. It's great to imagine and to think, but when we trust, that's where the magic is.
Thank you.
Have a lovely week.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Thank you.
Guys, later.